Hi, I'm Paige from PaigeeDraw, and today we are going to go over the different art tools you can use. Okay, so we're going to be starting off with markers. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between Chow and Sketch? There really is no difference. They have the exact same ink. The only thing is, Sketch have twice as many colors, so there's more selection when you go for Sketch. They're a little bit more expensive, but they include more ink, so you don't have to refill them or replace them as often, which is good if you use markers a lot, because then you spend less money overall. And they have the exact same tips, they color the same, and Sketch are also easier to hold. So the round ones, these are Chows, and they'll slip out of your hands faster than these ones would. Okay, so this is a Sketch and this is a Chow, and I'll show you the tips on them. So they have a brush tip that looks like this, and then they have a chisel tip. And I rarely use the chisel tip. I only use it if I need to have a straight line. But for the most part, I use the brush tip because it's much easier to go over a space. It creates less streaking. And I'll show you, they have the same tips on this as well. This one's less used because I always use Sketch, so that's why this one's not dirty looking. I'll show you that they color the exact same. So I'll show you the difference between the chisel tip and brush. So I find that the chisel tip colors much lighter, as you can see here, and you'd have to layer it way more, so you're ending up using more ink when you try to color over a big space. And the brush tip, the ink appears to be darker just because it gets it even, and I guess more of the ink gets into the paper. So I like the brush tip better. And I'll use the Chow. It's the exact same ink. Right now it's wet, so it's kind of different, but they're the exact same color, so I used EO4 for this. Okay, another thing about the Chow and the Sketch is that they're all refillable, so you can buy refills for all of your colors, and it's more expensive to buy refills just because the refills they cost a lot, but over time they're much cheaper to get a refill rather than buying a new marker, because you can refill your marker up to 6-7 times. So it's really worth it to get refills if you run out of a color that you use a lot. So for me, the first refills that I would get would be skin colors. I use E40s, E30s, and E20s the most. And as you can see, it ran out of ink. I refilled my marker so many times. And it's really easy to refill them. What you do is you take off both lids on the thing, and you take off the chisel tip. I'm not going to show you right now, but you take off the chisel tip and then you put the nozzle in, squeeze it a couple times, and it should be full, and you'll see the ink run down here. And that's how that works. I honestly would suggest the Sketch though, just because they last a lot longer. It's much easier. If you want a more detailed tutorial showing you how to refill one of the markers, I have a video on YouTube that you can look up. So another type of marker is the whites, and I don't really use these, but they have a really, really big chisel tip. So if you're doing a big background of, say, the sky, they would probably be a good idea. And obviously, I said earlier, with chisel tips, they make streaks, but you just have to go over it, and this would be really easy to go over a big space. So chisel tips are good for that. I don't really use them, but I like them. I would get one if I wasn't so attached to these ones. Next we're going to talk about the Copic Multiliners, both colored and black. The multiliner I use the most is 0.3. It's the thickest one that I use, so it's really easy to fine line with this one. Then I also have I have a 0.2, 0.1, 0.05, and 0.03, and those ones are used if I do some really detailed artwork. So that's only if I have a lot of spare time. So for the most part, I use 0.3, and that's a really good size to start with. I'll show you the different sizes. I'm just gonna. Now my fine liners are really used, so their tips are a little bit old, but they still work perfectly fine. Oops, this one went all funny. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if you can see them, but I have the finest to the thickest, so that's 0.3 and that's 0.03. So it goes all the way down. And since these ones are really thin, I don't know, I don't use them that much. Just for normal drawings, I would only use them if I do really huge details. That's it. These are the colored fine liners. They are all 0.3. They're really useful if you want to make your drawing a little bit more colorful, and I've seen them used if people want to draw eyes and they don't want to have the black line. They'll pick one of the colors that's closer to the eye color and they'll use it to fine line it. I've used the blue ones, but I don't really use any of the other colors yet. I really like colored fine liners. I'll show you what the colors look like on here. Just 1 minute. So there's pink, and there's red, turquoise, sky blue, orange, and purple. So here they are. So the colored ones, they're really useful if you want your fine lining not to be too noticeable, because depending on what colors you use, they can blend in with the color a little bit better instead of having like a bold black line. So colored fine liners are good. Okay, so now one of my favorite tools, gel pen. Gel pens are so useful. If you get a hold of one of these, like, you're going to want to get like 3 of them. I use them for shine in the hair. I use them for shine in the eyes. If you make a mistake, you can go over it with this. This acts like white out. It's awesome. I like them. So if you start using Copics, or any kind of markers to color, these are really useful. I would, like, they're one of my tools that I absolutely have to have, as well as my fine liners and my markers. Another thing that I use if I do a big drawing is there's this Copic Opaque White Ink, and you have to kind of water it down and use a paintbrush, and you use it for splatters. And you really only use that if you have a big picture, because essentially what this is supposed to do when you put the splatters on, it distracts you from any streaks. So that's what that's useful for. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about my pencil and erasers that I use. I always use mechanical pencils, and I use a 0.5 millimeter pencil. There's 0.7 ones, but I find that they're too thick. And the lead that I use for it would be either HB or B. I like B lead the best just because it draws much nicer. I find that HB is alright, but sometimes it's not dark enough, or you have to press harder, so I like B. Another thing is sometimes there's these small erasers on your pencil, and that is so great if you do little details and you have to go get in and erase in there. One bad thing though is these run out. I used to have an eraser like this that was this size, and if you ever find one of those, I would definitely get it, especially if you draw small. So that's a good size. The next size above it is of course this one, and they work like that. So you have this eraser stick, and this is also for smaller details. It's really good when you're trying to erase part of the face or part of the hair or something, and then you're not getting a huge area of it. And then of course the normal size eraser for when you're just trying to erase a big area of space. So it's good to have different sizes of erasers, but obviously if you only have one size, that's going to work just as well. You can use the corners of your eraser for smaller details. But if you're like all out in your drawings and you want to like get in there and erase like super, just getting that one area, then try to find different sizes of erasers. So a lot of people ask me what kind of paper I use, and I use many different types, but my favorite is the Copic Paper, and it's fairly thin sheets of paper, but the thing is since it's made from markers, it doesn't leak at all, and the colors show up beautifully on this kind of paper. So even if you can't find Copic paper, try to find a type of marker paper. I'll show you different brands, but Copic is my favorite. I don't have the label on this one anymore, but this is also Copic paper, and it's a bigger size, and this is actually thicker paper. Yeah, so there's different types of Copic paper, and it'll say Copic on it, so if you see it, it's the best paper. Another marker brand, I actually first started with Letraset paper, and this is also marker paper. It's the same thickness as this Copic paper. It works just as well, and you know, this is a good brand too. The colors show up well, it doesn't streak, the colors show up great. So that's another brand. Oh, here's another Letraset brand, and this one has like a manga character on it. I haven't used this brand, but I'm sure it works pretty much the same as the other Letraset paper. After I used Letraset, I used this Canson Manga Drawing Pad paper, and it's really thick, and you know, it's another type of marker paper, so it's good for markers as well. Same thing about the color. The color is not as nice as the Letraset or Copic paper, but it works just as well. It doesn't streak, doesn't leak. I actually find that this one sometimes the coating there's too much on the top of it, so then the color kind of sticks on top and it's not sinking in at all, so I find that it's not as good. It works well, but it's not as good as the other kinds. And also you can use just regular cardstock paper if you find any. Since it's not made for markers, there might be a little bit of leaking in cardstock, and the colors will sink in and they won't be as bright. And the last kind of paper that you can use, if you don't have any of those, is if you have some printer paper. So printer paper is pretty much a last resort. What I use, if I use printer paper, is the color laser paper. It's like, has a really smooth surface, and it feels like it's marker paper, but it's not. So it still leaks a lot, and it does take some of your marker, but the colors show up really well on this paper, better than cardstock. But if you use this paper to draw with, you have to have something under it. So if you have a sheet of cardboard or a couple sheets of more printer paper to put under it, then it won't leak on something like another drawing or on your table. So if you use printer paper, always have something under it. And the good thing about printer paper, especially if you're just doing sketches or starting out, practicing with your marker, it's like $10 for like 1,000 sheets rather than spending $10, $15 for 30, 40 sheets. So it's good if you're starting out and practicing, but when you get to doing bigger drawings and you're getting better at it, then that's when you really want to get marker paper. So thank you for watching my video for today. Please join our Facebook page. There you can post any ideas of videos you want to see me do. So if there's like a specific tutorial you want to see from me, I can do that. So just find our Facebook page. The Facebook page is PaigeeDraw, so if you search that, it'll be easy to find. Also, if you join our Facebook page, you will find out all of the contests that we are doing. We hold contests regularly and you can win really cool prizes, so it's another reason for you to check out Facebook. If you want to get any of the drawing supplies that I've demonstrated in this video, please check out my online store at shop.PaigeeDraw.com. You'll find all of my markers and Fineliners there and refills. It's all there. Thanks again for watching. Bye.